on the corner, man.
I've been there before.
If you have a guy that got this thing out, you talk about my story. You got to write your story, and then eventually either tell it to your kids. Or, a lot of our fathers weren't very communicative, so we want to be different than that. We want to communicate. Say, this is where I grew up. This is where my friends were. I want you to know about me. So this is called Dear Son, Dear Daughter. It's 5 questions, and it's almost a contract and a reminder for you of what you're trying to do. It's almost your goal sheet as well. It literally is a goal sheet so that you can, Fred, love the hat. So I don't like talking. This is, who is this for? You had 2.
I suppose I had a 3rd one, but they're all the same.
Okay.
So you read from one to 11.
You have some more work to do. Also, I'm saying.
You said they're all the same?
You put the exact same answers in all. All right. First question is, I would like to give you, dear son, dear daughter, I would like to give you, and he put my heart. Son, daughter, I dream you would be, he said, to supersede me. As your father, mother, I will prepare, train up a child in the way they should be. Prepare a what?
Prepare a child in the way that they should be. That's what I meant.
I would hate for you to see me without me around or not around. I would hate for you to see that I wasn't around or not around. I would like for you to thank me by doing the best you can. All right. Dear son, dear daughter, I would like to give you the best education, living environment I can. I dream you would be a medical doctor. As your father, I will lead by example. What is that?
Yeah, I put my name in about it.
Oh, you put the kid's name in. I would hate for you to see me failing in life. I would like for you to thank me by being a medical doctor. So someone told you they want to be a medical doctor, right?
No, she ain't.
That's what you would like to say.
Yeah, that's all I can say. But she didn't tell me that though. But that's what I want her to be in when she grew up. Yeah.
All right.
A medical doctor.
Whatever. I would like to. Okay. Dear son, I would like to give you a bright future and the best life possible. I dream you would be a successful person in life. I will protect you and guide you through life. I would hate for you to see me fail in life as your father. I would like for you to thank me by being or doing good in school and making something out of yourself and being a better man than me. That's right. So one of the reasons why I bring this up and we want to flow this into it is that last Tuesday we had a conversation, and one of the main parts of that conversation was the whole power and control swing. We started and ended with the same conversation. There was a text message to one of our dads that said, "You broke your daughter's jacket." At the end of the 45-minute conversation, what we said to everyone, that even though he was going back and forth with her and back and forth and they were going back and forth, what we said was, as fathers, the jacket is still broke. So she accused him of messing up the jacket. He went back at her and said this, you were there. Well, you didn't tell me about this. And we went back and forth. And we've all had these conversations, blah, blah, blah. But we said as fathers, at the end of that conversation, when they both hang up the phone and they both got off, the daughter's jacket is still broke. It is still winter time, and it is snowing, and it is hailing, and it is 30 degrees. So as a parent, and we're parents, we have not solved the problem even going through all that conversation. So we have to get to the point where we're actually answering questions and solving some of these problems and issues in this conversation. Even with the most, I want to be politically correct, trying people, even with some very trying people, the point is Stop looking out there, Carlos. That's why you're in the class now, man. You're going to end up in like 3 or 4, remember?
I want a typo.
She's looking at
That's not what I'm looking at. To add, that's good work that you guys have done on your homework. What I would suggest is when you go back to it, because you'll be going back to it, to be more definitive. Now, when you say, for instance, I heard fail as a father out of a couple of responses. And one of the things you want to start looking at is, this is not a matter of pass and fail as a parent. But remember, failure, write this down now, failure is only finding out what doesn't work. And oftentimes we take failure as the most devastating event, because that's how we as parents tend to condition, because we were conditioned that way.
Repeat failure? Failure what doesn't work.
Is only finding out what doesn't work.
Finding out what doesn't work.
So it's their success in failure. Because that's all you're really doing. You're finding out, hey, that's not going to work. So I say that in essence of the topic of power and control. If you look at it didn't go my way, as the basis of this engagement that you're having with the other person, it's never going to be that. Because man will always fail us. You have unrealistic expectations. Any expectations of a human being is going to fail you. That's the reality. It's never going to be the full outcome of what we want. So if we don't focus on what it is that we want, we focus on what's better for the child. Because there was part 2 to homework. What was part 2 to homework? What is the foundation of your resolve? Because if you don't have a focus, a point of reference to bring resolution, if you don't have any means of resolution other than up here, we have a problem. And this is a great part of our problem. The pain of the separation is in here, but the mind is what's dictating our actions, not the heart. You're only responding to the pain. The body takes care of itself. If we're taking care of ourselves, eating the right foods and those kind of things. And part of the diet also includes what we're putting into our minds. Be it a religion or some kind of spiritual foundation. So you have to look at what you're feeding yourself. Because when you start feeding yourself hurt, pain, fear, guilt, what do you have to combat that? And that's why it's so important that you have a point of reference. And I said what mine was. When you have to seek resolve in conflict, perceived or actual, what is your source of reference to resolve that conflict?
Well, it really depends on what the conflict is or what started it.
Well, what does it depend on?
The other person.
Okay, so you use the other person as a means to resolve the conflict.
Basically, yeah. If I'm having a conflict with another person and I know I'm right and they're definitely wrong, they gotta change their point of view or something, or else the conflict will persist.
Okay, we're going to put that here. Three.
I use history.
History?
Yes.
Whose? What history?
Like, depending, like, just assuming that we're talking, like, I'm talking to one of my daughter's mothers, then it's, you gotta go into, like, everybody have other children. I'm like, well, as you can see, like, this is the steps that we took before, and this is how blah, blah turned out, or this is what happened in that situation. So why would you want to make that same mistake again? Why? Well, you understand what I'm saying?
So you use past experience of
The situation?
are we talking about like a frame of reference of the village concept, or are we talking about historics in terms of a particular family? You use another family as an example.
Mainly like a particular family. I can be historical too, though, but too as well. But yeah, but mainly family members. Somebody else in the family. And if we had this discussion before, if we tried it before, if it was tried with any of the other children before.
Okay. Help me remember names. I'm not real good. I remember everybody's face and get better with names.
Carlos.
Carlos. Means toward conflict resolution. What is the foundation for you?
It used to be to get my point across.
Okay, remember, what will help you with answering the question right. You want us to come back? Brother?
Rico. I use the Word of God, the Bible.
Myself, I use Salat, prayer.
Can I have another comment real quick?
Real quick.
Now, when you do that, do you speak above? Like, do you
hold that thought? Let's get the responses first, and then we're going to have dialogue on all of them. Hold that thought. Put it up here. Just hold it in your hand. You ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Patience. Patience is a virtue. Sometimes I know dealing with people in conflict and you're trying to reach a resolution, if one person is hostile and angry, it's better for the other person to try to be cool and calm and patient with that person. And one of the other important things I want to add to that is to listen to what the other person's saying.
We're going to have some more dialogue on it.
Sabir.
Sabir.
I'm saying the Quran. They used to have, used to shoot their guns up.
Jeff. I kind of agree with him with the other person, because I always think I'm right even when I'm wrong.
Okay.
I always think right.
Okay. You want the other person, or you want I'm not sure?
I'm not sure yet. Okay. I think about it.
Any others you'd like to add to the list? No? Okay.
Music.
Music. So you... Music. Now, what I want us to look at is each one of the things that we put up here, right? And I want you to ask yourself, and you need to ask yourself this honestly. Number one, we're engaged in some conflict, unresolved conflict. I'm depending on the other person to bring resolve. We're talking about a foundation that we have. If I'm relying upon the other person to help us, to help me, because we're really talking about me, resolve this conflict, how successful will I be? I want you to look at that, because if we look at this as a starting point, isn't this why we're sitting here now trying to find resolve, because we have not found it based on our ongoing conflict with the other person? So if we're relying upon the other person, what else are we relying upon about that person? We're relying upon what you talked about, historics. What are the historics of the individual who I'm having conflict with? Let's start with their childhood. We don't know, or we may know, about some of the dynamics in their family environment. Right? When they come into being a teenager, when they come into adulthood, all the events, all their hurts, pains, traumas, good things, bad things, are now enveloped within them. And if we're depending on them to bring an end to this conflict, it's not going to happen. You're not going to be very successful. And now, we can disagree on this, but I just want you to take a look at, if you're depending on me to cower, to stop arguing, we're going to be going like this for a while. Because I'm heated. And I'm just as hurt as you are. And you know what? I'll ride this one out. Ride it out. Let's go. And it's a battle of who's going to back down first. So, this being successful, let's see how that's working for you, as Dr. Phil would say. How's that really working for you? Because I'm not backing down. I'm not going to back down. The light with historics. You look at historics, remember, every relationship you go to, you carry everything about your life into that relationship. And so does the other person. Everything. And there are things you don't know about that other person. There's things you're in denial about yourself that you're bringing into the situation. Right? So it's a good thing to say, okay, well, remember Mr. Joel and his family and how they did A, B, and C together and how that didn't work. Well, we don't want to be like Mr. Joel because you see that that didn't work and look at where they're at as a family. That's good to use examples. But remember, one of the things Joel and I constantly try to drive home is we are the example setters. I'm going to give you a brief story. I knew a guy, and he was talking about always seeing this person we found very attractive, but this person was in a relationship with somebody else. But he was going to make it his business to get to this other person. He made it his business. He got to the other person. But he got more than he bargained for. Because he didn't know that this person was abusing the other person. Physically abusing them. So he got the abuse too. All he wanted was what he wanted. But there was more to come along with that. See, you don't know anything about Mr. Joel other than what you see before you. You don't know what goes on the other side of the door. You know none of those things. That person who you're involved with as the parent comes with a set of stuff. I come with a set of stuff. You come with a set of stuff. So historics may be okay. You have to be careful with historics because I may be a good example to use right now. But what's going to happen when I do something wrong? Am I still that example? Because now you have to tell the child, well, wait a minute, I know I told you Mr. Frank was a better dad in this situation because, you know, they're going on. Mr. Joel was the bad situation, but you really don't know. It was a situation that happened that was not necessarily handled or was handled, but that was that situation. Does that mean all circumstances are going to be handled that way? Montel Williams said it best. He said, the media's responsibility is to build you up, make you look great, wonderful, and good when you're there. He said, when you do something wrong, their job is to destroy you. When you start using people outside of yourselves as the example, you compromise some of that because you really don't know how good of a person that is because anything can happen because human beings are flawed. So you have to be the best of example for your family. That's your responsibility. You follow me? So when you start looking at historics, it's like we even look at when we grew up. I grew up in the 60s. And we look at the 60s, the kids had more respect, it wasn't this and it wasn't that. That's not entirely true. Bootlegging and all that stuff was going on then. Killings were happening then. It was less disrespect because there weren't so many influences. Today we have too many influences. I'm in your house now on your computer because I have Blog Talk Radio, I have YouTube. I'm in your house now. I know how to get in your home. It was a time when those things didn't exist. You controlled all of that. So you stop controlling that part of that. When we look at religion, right? If you are learning, and that means that not that you listen to Fred standing on necessarily on the podium at the pulpit in the ranks, he talking all that stuff. This is about you getting an understanding that's befitting for yourself. Because remember, as the leader of a congregation, I'm only interpreting how I internalize it based on what? Historically, my own condition. My own condition. That means my biases are also part of it. All my stuff is still part of what I'm giving to you. Which is why you need to read. This is very key. If you have a child who is of your same faith, you need to teach your child faith. Teach your child your faith. And you teach by reading. The stories. There are plenty of stories to read. So why? They can get an understanding that's befitting for themselves. How did Moses do it? How did Joseph do it? So on and so forth. Because we always use those terms. What would Jesus do? What would Muhammad do? Well, if we're talking about resolution to our conflicts that we're having, people, shouldn't that be coming to mind first? But it doesn't. Most of the times what comes to mind first isn't in the mind, it's in the heart. You following me? I'm not going too far with this, am I? Because we have to begin to understand that if we're going to stop the madness, because we're the madness. If we're going to stop the madness, we have to see where our power lies. And this is not a question of whether you're a good Christian, a good Catholic, a good Jew, a good Muslim. It's not a question of any of that. It's a matter of when I get in trouble, where am I going? To bring this thing to an end. You have that power to do that. You have the power to do that. So all the complaining that we tend to do, we do it because it's hurt talking. That's not our resolve. That's hurt. So when you talked about being teary-eyed about your on the cell phone and looking at your text messages and all, your son is sending you another text message telling you happy birthday and all the other stuff. He's not even with you. I'm talking to him.
I'm listening.
So when we start looking at things such as patience, what is patience? Define patience.
Patience is overrated.
Okay,
Patience is taking
but
its
give me
time.
hold that. Just your word. Yes. Hold that thought. Define patience.
Patience is
The short version.
is being still. Being still.
Pray. What's patience?
Slow, methodical thought process.
Tolerance.
Pray. Pray. What patience? 1, 2 words. What's patience mean?
Biding my time.
Biding your time. Asir?
I would say a slow thought, methodical thought process.
Methodical?
Yeah. Carefully put the detail
Rico?
You gotta come back.
Jeff?
Taking time.
Asir?
I say humble.
Humble. I want you to look at, again, one word, a number of definitions. If you tell somebody who's impatient that they need to be patient, we might not be saying the same thing. And then when you add the word humble, humble is something totally different in terms of the behavior. Patient and humble are two different things. You got one now?
Endurance.
Endurance. Did you Google it?
Endurance. I said tolerance.
Patience and tolerance are two different words. And I want, but listen, but you need to understand that. Because I can tolerate you. Well, you can tolerate me as the instructor. You tolerate me. He's the instructor. We know he can get a little sometimes, but he's the instructor, so we're going to tolerate him because that's his role in his group. Now, outside, we ain't in class, baby. Patience is a matter of, we know he's the instructor, and we understand that he's making a point, and he has a sincere, genuine concern for what it is we're doing, regardless of how he's presenting it. So, you said something about being still, listening, biding time. Let me see how this plays out. Patience allows you to see things happening as opposed to anticipate them happening. Because once you start anticipating the outcome, then you're not getting there. But when you're patient, you can see things unfold and say, okay, I see where he was going with this. I see how it's benefiting you. So you understand that there's a difference in the behavior that happens because you tolerate your employer. You tolerate people on the bus. You tolerate the person driving in front of you until you start having the road rage until things change. Follow me? The not sure is a very good response because sometimes we really don't know because there's so many internal conflicts that we have even when you're practicing the faith. Because you have the street, you know, whatever you got from the street, if you were part of the street culture, right? You got what grandma gave you, what mom gave you, what Uncle Bill gave you. You have all those conflicts that begin to go on, and right in the midst of everything, you have to immediately reach for something. And in that moment, it may be what you got from the street, and you got your hands on somebody's neck. In just that quick of a moment. But if you have a positive foundation and you're reiterating to yourself over and over what the foundation of the resolve is, it's a lot easier. Joel gave everybody a handout. The first block talks about types of communication. Forgive me, this was a copy document that I do not have on a hard drive, and I have to locate it again so I can actually get that part in there. And my eyes are not all that great to be able to see it here. But the types of communication, somebody talked about listening. What does it mean to listen?
To hear what the other person's saying.
To comprehend
what they're saying, yeah, not just hear what they're saying.
So, when we talk about listening, to listen means to comprehend.
Yeah.
What else?
Show interest or show attention.
Concern.
What else?
To react to what someone is saying.
To
react.
And I'm glad you said that, because what this is actually called is reflective listening. Now, reacting is real important. Reflective listening is, so I'm clear on what you're saying, what you just said. You need me to go and pick them up for you for the next week?
Kind of repeat what they reiterate what they
You don't want to repeat it.
But reiterate.
Yeah, but you're not reiterating. Reflective means you're just making sure that you're clear on what it is that I'm talking about. So what you're saying is, you want me to be involved in my child's life, but I'm just getting on your nerves, and the stupid stuff that I continue to do makes it difficult for you to kind of work through something. Is that what you're saying to me? That I need to tone it down a little bit? I just want to make sure we're clear. Because you didn't say you don't want me involved in my child's life, but you're just sick of going through this drama with me. And when you do that, see what you got to do now is you're taking ownership. Because you're saying, okay, I'm hearing what you're saying. So reflective listening is kind of, it's not parroting, but it's a matter of, so am I to understand that this is what you do want? You follow me? So that's why you have to stop talking sometimes. And sometimes you have to stop talking not only with your mouth, but with your mind. Because you can be sitting there biting your teeth, and your mind is telling you all kinds of things about the person. That's why, again, you have to be objective. Because if you're being subjective in your thinking, then you're not going to be able to hear what the person is saying. When you're objective, that means now you're more open, and you're going to be able to internalize and comprehend what it is that you're saying. Follow me?
I like what you just said.
I know, thank you.
Internalize.
So it's objective.
Internalizing is important.
Right. Because sometimes you could be like you just said, something that I used to do with my wife. She used to talk, but I already have a prehistoric, something developed in my mind, and I'm not really taking heed to what she's saying. And I'm just wanting her to finish so I can go ahead and still do what I plan on doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to show the respect by hearing her, but I didn't listen because I did the total opposite. And then she'll ask me, later, so you wasn't listening to me at all. But the proof was when I went and did it, that was exactly right.
And here's how you can tell when they do reflective listening. So did you hear what I said? Yeah, I heard you, yeah. Well, tell me.
What I said.
Tell me what I just said. So I can make sure we're on the same page. That's all they're doing. It's reflective listening. I just want to make sure that you understood what I said, so I don't get that call, because it always happens. Oh, I didn't know. Well, you weren't listening. You weren't listening. Because if you were listening, we wouldn't be having this conversation again. So you have to close your mouth. And when I say close your mind, I mean stop those running subjective thoughts, but be open to what the person is saying.
Question.
Answer.
Now, when somebody is repeating something over and over and over again, the same thing, and I'm like, I'm so,
give me an example.
I don't know, I'm late getting home or something. And then I explain, well, I couldn't call, I was in consult, so I couldn't answer my phone. Well, you knew where I was, you know what I was doing, you know what I mean? But you always late getting home. Listen, I just explained to you why I was late getting home. You know what I mean? How is it that you don't understand that? Well, you always late getting home, blah, 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 blah. And then I understand what you're saying. I understand what I'm saying, but now you're just getting hyper because I'm not agreeing to, I'm not apologetic, I guess, or, if you understand what I'm saying, whatever, that's not a good thing.
But no, it's a good one. That's right with that one.
A response will be, I will learn how to get home on the time that you think I should.
Nah, I can't do that.
You know why?
That'd be a lie.
Why?
Because my schedule is unpredictable.
But you're right. But you're riding on something that you don't need to ride on. See, again, and I think both of them said it. When I'm right, I'm right, and that's an issue. And we talked. Well, you weren't here last week, and we talked about learning to be in a win-win situation as opposed to a win-lose situation. If you say, babe, listen, you know what? I apologize, and I'm going to get better with that, because yeah, you're right. I was late this time. And even regardless, but wait a minute.
I hear you.
Regardless of something happening beyond your control, listen, when you want something from her, you'll do that. right, boo, you know, come on, right, come on. What's up? All right. But when it's not in that situation, then look at how we act. And it's just a matter of, listen, it's a matter of, if we're going to change the conditions that we're in, we have to change our thinking. Regardless if the bus got in front of me and I'm late again, listen, what you didn't hear, if you were listening, is your always. That's the part that we have to hear. Because when you hear it, and you, before you even say, don't even say anything. Put it in, let it just squish around in your mouth. And think about it. Yeah, I'm just, yeah, that's kind of, and I'm always, and I understand, you know what, I understand what you're saying. It's just that simple. See, you don't have any control over what they continue to do. What you have control over is how to manage your environment. I don't like conflict and confrontation. So when I'm bothered by something that is said or done, I shut up first. And just leave it.
Then when I apologize, then it's like, oh, you just apologizing and shit.
But you're defining the person again. And you missed all that last week. But you're defining the person. Remember, you can change that.
There's a solution for that.
I'm just hearing you straight from what you said, and it seems like to me that there's a disconnect between you addressing what you did and her trying to address what it says about who you are. And I think while we talk about gender differences, we don't talk a lot about the ways in which men and women tend to differ on their focus on doing versus being. Men tend to be like, I'm going to go out and do this, and I'm going to do, and the women are like, I'm going to have a great day, I'm going to be a good person. And so what it sounded like to me in that conflict was that she said to you, you were late today. You said, I had this going on. What she then tried to do was help you see the big picture of how she sees it as far as you always being late. And you were like, but I just said I was late this one time, without addressing what seems to her to be a bigger issue.
Right.
So I think there may be an opportunity there to be able to speak to what she's addressing. At this point, it's no longer about that one isolated incident. It's about a pattern that suggests that either you don't care or whatever. And then if you come right away and be like, well, I'm sorry, then it's like, no, you don't even know what you're apologizing for, because you don't even realize that I'm talking about you being late, not having come late this one time, or just being a tardy person, or being a person that doesn't respect my need to have you home at a certain time.
Right. And it might not be that, like, it might be like, it might not even be coming home late for us, like, as in a late hour, but it might be, I might have a consult at 3. What time are you going to be home? And I always be like, about 5. You know what I mean? So then if I get home at 5:30, it's a problem.
Well, see, but let's ride with that.
And then I'm like, I'm on the streets playing.
But see, but that, again, that's your thinking. And what we're trying to tell you is, the first thing you have to do is, you have to address her need. And you're not addressing that. You're still addressing your own.
What about my needs?
Wait a minute. I like a happy home. So it's real important that I come to understand some things that I listen. Okay? The other piece to it is, what do you do if you say you're going to be there at 5? What are the behaviors that happen in between there? Do you call? Do you send a text message? Do you take a minute and touch base? I'm running late again. And even if you come home and you still hear that you're late again, you know, maybe you need to get better with time management. You know, I understand you had this appointment. I understand you had that appointment. But do you tend to go overboard in terms of your discussions? Do you have a lot of extra added talk? Class ends at 8:30, I'm gone. But she's sitting outside the car waiting for you, it's 8:45. Oh, I was in there talking to Joel. No, class is over at 8:30. You can call Joel when we get home and we get done what we're doing. Remember, the goal is to have a happy home. And if we don't begin to look at and address our own behaviors that can make it a happy home, we're going to be so ingrained with this kind of behavior going back and forth that that same behavior is going to transfer to our children, and whenever they see it, they're going to think that that's getting along. That that's a healthy environment, and it's unhealthy. It's unhealthy for us to go back and forth.
I think sometimes we are a creature of habit, that we only listen to our voice, and we don't listen to our child's mother, wife, mother, whoever's voice. And we're so prone to doing that. We have to break that habit of just listening to what our commands are.
Right.
And listening to the response so it can become a real habit.
Which goes to, what is the foundation of our resolve? It's intellect for us. And until we get here, until you start using these things in here, it's going to be the same outcome. You're not going to get a different outcome. But most importantly, you have to be open-minded. You have to realize that you are flawed. That you're not the perfect one. There's but one who is perfect, and it ain't none of us. And we have to look at how we're addressing matters. And if you find yourself on and on and on in conflict, there's a problem. If we go down, you can go down the list of your different communication, but we talked about last week the means of like writing a note. If you're not real good at talking because you kind of get caught up in the moment, write a note. That way you can be more expressive. You can really say the things you need to say, because when you're in front of that person, sometimes it just doesn't work. When I'm in front of her, I just so write it. Watch your nonverbals. You know, if you tend to talk like this all the time, and you know, look at that. Look at how that's perceived. You know, learn to maybe stand and talk like this. They don't feel as threatened, and it doesn't seem like you're attacking them.
What if it's reversed?
Well, we're not.
She's talking and she's talking to you. Y'all having a conversation, but she want to talk like, listen, let me tell you, like,
It's not
I have a problem with it. So
It's not over negative.
He's like,
Listen,
what's wrong with your neck?
Listen,
Talk to me like this.
let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Can you stand in a criminal court before a judge and say that she made me mad, and that's why I put my hands on her, and think that you're not going to get any time? Okay, so what I'm saying to you is, let's stop with the old okie-doke stuff, because that's what we're doing. We're doing a 52 fake out to ourselves, and our children are suffering as a result. So let's practice some self-control. Let's make use of the true power and control that we have, and stop playing games, because that's what we're doing. They got room for you. And we really got to be real about this. We really do. Because we're faking ourselves out, and we're hurting the children's mother. She's hurting, and she's talking, and she's hurting. She's with the child. You're hurting. Everybody's getting hurt. Hurt people hurt people. We got to stop the hurt. You got to work on your own. Let's go to the next block where it talks about breaking it down. Listening is a collection of skills that involve several components. Like the diagram, we talked about that. Stop relying upon one. You have a toolbox. Use your toolbox and bring some resolve by using those tools. Alright? And if you keep talking to Joel, and every time you get off the phone with Joel, you be hyped about confronting, you need to stop talking to Joel, for real. Because a person who is not trying to work out differences between them and their children's mother, you know, the conversation gets fueled. You put gasoline on it, and it goes nowhere, because now both of y'all sitting there bashing your children's mothers. So stop going to that person for resolve. That may be your homie, that's your boy, or maybe y'all do better at the club on the basketball court, but y'all ain't going to do good with this thing here. For real. Stop being around toxic people when you're trying to bring resolve to your situations, because they're going to make it difficult for you. Y'all too old to be succumbing to peer pressure. For real. Alright? You really got to look at that, because that's what you actually wind up doing. That's my man. You know, yeah, we cool because he always been there for me. Women are dime a dozen. That kind of mindset. Now, that's the child's mother, and we need to think different. We talked about the verbal and nonverbal. Let's go to the most important part, which is we're going to spend the last few minutes on this, because we're going to follow back up with the last page. Sex difference. Quantity of talk. Who talks the most? In task-oriented cross-sex groups, men talk more than women.
In task-oriented.
Just like you were saying about the example with the whole and the leaves over it, and the thing around it, and how we describe things differently.
Okay.
Oh, no, I was just saying, that's related to business. Probably the other half of it is in relationship-oriented cross-sex groups and women talk about that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Well, but we want to identify the fact that there's a difference, and we want to see where we're different.
And that's actually what I meant too, that's related to the doing versus being. Tasks involve doing things, relationships involve being. And so women are going to do more than talking in relationships, whereas men, if it involves getting something accomplished, you'll be more inclined to do talking.
Yeah.
Got clear on that? Topics of talk. What do women and men talk about? Women talk more about private matters, such as family, relationship problems, other women or men, clothing, and feelings. Yes?
This one is difficult. I don't exactly know. I'm going to assume so, but this one is one of those where it's like, okay, so what? Men talk about sports and sex, or what? Like this one seems like one of those. But that's not to say that women can't also talk about sports and sex, or men can't also talk about family and relationships. This is one of those sentences where it seems kind of challenging because it's kind of the root of why men don't get respected for taking care of their kids, because well, y'all don't feel, y'all don't have feelings, you don't have emotions. So it's one of those tricky sentences, things like that.
And to piggyback on that, if you look at how males are depicted in sitcoms, how males are depicted in media in terms of commercials, look at all those things. Look at how we're typically depicted as buffoons. I want you to think about it. Go ahead.
Whether we know it or not, we do have emotions. We just show it in different manners. What I've learned in the past couple of weeks now is to make sure she understands that I see her emotions and they are important.
And what about your own?
I'm still working on it.
That's an honest answer. Nothing wrong with that.
Anybody else still working on their own?
Well, everybody can put their head up.
That's why I'm here.
Who's not working?
Well, you're not working on nothing at all. You got it all figured out.
Vocabulary. Do men and women use different vocabulary words?
Yes.
What vocabulary words you tend to use? Without looking at the paper.
They use adjectives to describe. They use it in an over-exaggerational. To me, it's over-exaggeration because women think more with emotion. Oh my God! Oh my God! Like, you know what I mean? Like, freak out, dude, chill. You know, like, it's not that big of a deal. Relax. That kind of thing. Whereas men are more, like, we're more reserved to a point. Till we get elevated, of course. But sometimes I think, and not all women, but they over-exaggerate. Like you look at the words here. You know, with the oh my and oh my God and you did that, and it's like everything is followed with a question. Or you ask them a question, and instead of them answering the question for you, they ask you a question. You didn't hear what was said to you, but yet you're asking me a question, so you didn't hear what I'm saying to you. Or you choose not to answer the question because you want to prove a point by turning it around and asking me a question. You know what I'm saying? That's how I see it. Okay. I don't never get the oh dear or the oh my.
No? You haven't gotten that yet?
I don't think I'm never going to get it.
You get the OMG?
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. They just gave you an example of some of the words. But let's tell a little secret here. I'm going to come right to you. How many of you actually say it to yourselves?
To ourselves, what, like, oh my God?
Any of those things.
I'm king of saying this to myself.
Conditioning says we don't do that. Because I just said, oh my, in many situations. But conditioning
you don't.
Yeah, we feel it, but we don't.
Yeah,
yeah.
Not like, oh, God, here we go.
Yeah, right. But you're actually saying something different.
Yeah, here we go. Like this,
Yeah.
Oh my
I was
God.
going to say, one of the things I think this sentence
Capital
of are cultural differences. Most of the sentences that come out from this have to do with research that's been done in mostly white countries. And so, in communities of color, you might find it less likely that a black woman is going to say, "Oh dear," or "Oh my."
Right.
But on the flip, you might also hear a man go, "Oh," instead of like, "What's up?" You know, using the stronger expletives. So this is another one that kind of goes. It depends on your context. It depends on culture.
And again, culture is very significant in all of these dynamics, because some of you may have even been in or are in biracial relationships, and you're going to get the difference. And I always have a discussion with the guys who may be in a step parent situation where there's a biracial couple now that's caring for your child, and how those dynamics play out. And things are said differently, and sometimes they're kind of referenced in very stereotypical ways. But the reality of it is, just replace that content with what you see happens in your own culture. Because, you know, like she said, we say, "Yo, that's our version of oh my." You follow me? Thank you.